Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to Be a Powerhouse Presenter, expanding our presence and communication skills. This is a seminar being produced by the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter of the Climate Reality Project. It is meant to support environmentalists and activist for the earth, the environment, and social change, social causes, social justice, social change. So welcome. My name is Beth Bando, and I'm a theater person and an acting and a presentation coach, an earth lover, environmentalist, author, creator of seminars for spiritual growth. And for me, Earth at the center is the thing that holds it all together. Who are you? You're a person who cares. You care about the earth and the environment, about people, social justice, and deepening your activism through speaking and presenting. So we know that in our personal lives, professional lives, environmental lives, that communication is a key to our effectiveness. So what we want to do today is take all of those natural skills that you have, keep them nice and strong, and maybe do some stretching around the edges. So we're going to be working from a holistic perspective today to expand our speaker instrument in body, heart, mind, and spirit. I want to share with you some of the concepts that we're going to use today, some of the guiding lights. So, and the first is a question, what is our speaker's instrument? When you're a theater person, of course, and you're telling story on stage, you have to find out what your actor instrument is. So that's part of what we're going to do today is explore, well, what is our speaker instrument? Our speaker's instrument is our presence. It's the body, it's the voice, it's the energy, it's our energy, and it's an atmosphere that we radiate and project. Our instrument is the carrier of the message. So it's what we resonate. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today is how we can expand that resonator. All right, next concept. Through speaking, we're actually building community and adding just this thread of an intention that what we're doing when we get up and speak is building community, increases our speaking potential. We speak to build community. And for any of us that ever get nervous about public speaking, this is one of the things that we can remember to assist us. If we do not have these outside focuses, what happens is that the focus turns inward. And when the focus becomes inward, we start watching how we're doing. So if we're already nervous, that builds our nervousness. What do you need? Something else to focus on. What is that? I'm building community. Pretty cool, huh? All right, next concept. Part of this shift into inner and outer sustainability is moving from a paradigm of separation into connection. So here's a Beth Bando concept for you. When we're living in and acting out of separation, it's the mind that starts to come forward to lead the way. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We need a strong, clear mind. But when we're coming from a heart-centered perspective, the heart comes forward and it tells all the rest of us, including the mind, how to get into alignment with what we're doing. So today, we get to be guided by the heart and connect, building community as speakers as part of this heart-centered focus. All right, goody. That's background. Now, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. I just learned something really cool. I've been studying voice in vocal production for a very long time. But I just learned that 33 1/3% of the brain governs all this part of us. The eyes, the head, the face, the lips, the tongue, the jaw. The tongue is amazing. What an amazing muscle. Oops. All righty. Somebody hopped out and is coming back in. 33 1/3% of your brain is all of this part that makes sound. How cool is that? Another 33 1/3% is the hands. We need the dexterity, right? To build, to cook, to create. The other 33 1/3 is the rest of the body. So a lot of what we're doing today is the focus here on sound, the creation of sound, and that 33 1/3% of us. And yeah, we'll get to those other thirds as well. Here's a concept for you. Humans are the only vertebrates that are born that don't know how to stand up. Elephants do. Horses know, but we don't. And we learn through movement. So we're going to that's the concept of going back to how it is that we learn to make movement. We coo, we make sounds. How it is that we learn to make sounds, how it is that we learn to make movement, and how that can be a source of support for us now as we move forward in expanding our communication skills. So we get to play like kids today. You know, a baby, when it puts its toe in its mouth, it does not say, am I looking okay while I put my toe in my mouth? There's just a delight of the toe, right? Same thing for us. Same thing with the sound. So it's not about the quality of the sound. It's about the guidance in the sound that is going to teach us something about this instrument that is actually governed by 1/3 of our brain. And yes, I'm probably going to ask you to do some odd things and things that you don't do in normal life. So here's the rule. Whenever I ask you to do something, I do it first. And then just do it again with that childlike sense of wonder, because this is experiential learning. This is not sitting behind a desk and taking notes. We don't want to do that as presenters. And we don't want to learn about our speaker's instrument doing it that way. We get to be playful. This is like kindergarten. Okay, cool. Now, so here's your first direction. Without changing anything, I'm going to ask you to pay attention to how you're breathing. Just notice. Just sink into that field of noticing. What part of your body is moving when you inhale and exhale? And again, just notice. One of my favorite questions to ask students is, do you know how to breathe? So I'd be sitting in front of a college class and they'd say, is that a trick question? Oh, maybe, maybe not. So let me ask for some feedback. What do you notice? What part of you moves when you breathe? Just raise your little hand, unmute yourself. This is the experiential sharing part. What'd you notice?
My stomach's going up and down. My chest is rising up and down.
Okay, good. Good, yes. Anyone else have any observations?
Chest expands and contracts.
Okay, good. Good, excellent. So that is traditionally how we experience breath. We have this lower belly part called the diaphragm. I'll talk more about the diaphragm in just a moment. And we have this upper part, This upper part of us is governed by the autonomic nervous system, and it's a good thing we have it because we forget to breathe. So the autonomic nervous system keeps us breathing, right? I mean, have you noticed how often you forget to breathe? And we're not meant to do deep conscious breathing all the time, but we have to breathe all the time. So when I was teaching in college and I would say, do you know how to breathe? They'd say, yeah. And I would say, well, how do you know? Well, because I'm alive. And that's what it does. It keeps us alive. However, the breath is a huge component to making sound. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So one of the skills that I'm going to ask you, if you would please, take your hands, the other 33 and a third % your brain is governing, and place them at the bottom of your rib cage, on either side of your rib cage. And I'd like you to take a deep breath. And when you inhale, see if that can expand. And on the exhale, contract. Voice teachers like to say it's a bellows. And for other folks that it's my stomach that's breathing, you can put a hand on your tummy, on your stomach, and do the same thing. Inhale, and you'll feel it expand out as it fills up with air. On the exhale, we empty that air, it contracts. And focus on the lower belly, closer to the thighs. And do the same thing. Nice deep breath. See if you can get that to expand out. Good. Keep one of your hands on your tummy or the side of you and another here on your chest. And now when you inhale, have the lower part of your body move, but not the chest. I'm going to watch you breathe for a minute. That looks good. That looks real good. Is that easy or hard to isolate the breath from lower in the body and not the chest? What was that like? What was that experience like? Easy, hard? Yes, Jayashri, what was it?
It was conscious, like I had to make a decision to do that. It was not automatic.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So that is one of the seeds that I'm going to plant that we practice once this class is over. It's exactly what you said, Jayashri. It takes a little bit of conscious thought in the beginning. What it does is free the body to get breath. Because, see, we don't actually breathe from here. It's all below, and it gives you a breath. Let's talk about why we need breath to make sound. This is another one of my favorite things. I get really excited about this stuff. All right. In the throat, we have, and we're going to get to know the throat a little bit better because what else to do on a Saturday, right? In the throat, in the larynx, we have these vocal folds, and they rest, gently touching each other. When we pass breath through, not like a panting breath, but with the intention of making sound, these vocal folds open and vibrate. And that vibration is sound. It is frequency, vibration. Scientists write about it all the time. It comes from breath. So the more we learn how to breathe deep, the more we have supported sound. The more we know how to breathe deep, take a deeper breath when we're speaking, the more centered that we can be. Holistically, breath is the thing that holds body, the physical, which is body, voice, heart, mind, and spirit together. So from my perspective, when we breathe, we're connecting with that other 33.33% of our brain that governs the body by that connective breath. And that's a good way to think of it. Connective breath as a group of people that are interested and devoted to connection with self, other, and earth. Awesome. Good job. All right, let's pay attention to more of our vocal instrument. Using the fleshy part of your fingertips. Just going to have you start tapping on the top of your head. Just nice, easy tapping. And tap forward to around the eyebrow area. All the forehead, from eyebrow up to scalp. Side of the eye. And make sure you get in here to that orbital bone under the eye, following that orbital bone around. And now fill out tapping cheek, the hairline, back to nose, getting all of that resonant cheek area. Above the lip, below the lip, the jawline, taking the jawline all the way back to this little mandible area. I call it the jaw joint. Behind the ear. If you will run your finger behind your ear and take it behind the lobe, you're going to find a little soft indentation. And that little soft indentation is where the vagus nerve travels from the back of the head down through the body. And holding on to it, especially if you use your middle finger on either hand, that fleshy tip replenishes the vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve gets overused with all the stress that we're under. And so this is another thing that you can do if you're getting ready to do a presentation when you're backstage. Juice up your vagus nerve. Good. And now a little bit of tapping under the jaw. This is very gentle movement, but by the way, this is not a bashing movement. It's very gentle, and I want you to pay attention to what you're feeling here. So when we're sick, we feel our lymph nodes here, right? And they'll get swollen because we're fighting an infection. So hopefully that's not going on with you, but I want you to feel what is there. And you might feel some large, flat muscles. I'm feeling them right in here. Do y'all feel that? Anyone feel that? That is actually the root of your tongue. The tongue is subject to a tremendous amount of stress and strain, as is the jaw. Good. And now just, again, go down the throat. And very, very gently put your fingers on either side of the larynx. So again, your vocal folds are nestled in here. This is the passageway from breath and sound, as well as food and swallowing and water, hopefully not at the same time. So again, the movements here are very small. They're very, very gentle. But notice if this does not want to move. Notice if there's a sort of crinkly that goes along with it. Well, that's just tension. And it may be a habit of tension. Good. Excellent. All right, now let's pay attention to the jaw. Let me show you this first before you do it, please. You're going to take your fingertips and put it here on your chin. The idea is we're gently going to move the chin from side to side, but not from the chin moving with the fingers along for the ride like this. The fingers gently moving the chin back and forth. And if you don't get a lot of movement, don't worry about it. That is very common. But of course, what we want to do is open that up for you. You may notice the jaw moves more easily one side to the other. Good. The next jaw movement is to put your fingers on your jaw. And again, watch me first before you do it. This will be an up and down movement. And again, think gentle. It's not whipping your jaw open, and it's not the jaw doing the movement. All right, we've just introduced you to your vocal instrument. What'd you think, Lauren? What'd you find?
Oh, I'm just sitting here laughing at myself doing all this silly stuff, but it's great. It's fun.
I know. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? Like I said, the baby doesn't think when it puts its toe in its mouth, gee, I wonder if this is weird, you know? So good. I'm glad you're being playful and enjoying it. So, for how many of you was it easy or not to move your jaw back and forth? You can just raise your hand and unmute yourself and give me some feedback.
That was not a natural motion at all.
It really is not. Well, it feels like it's not.
Yeah. I can do it with like from the jaw, but moving my jaw
With your
with
finger?
my hands, very weird. Very weird.
I know. It's very strange. Yes, good. Thank you. Who else found it difficult? Show of hands.
I found it easier to go side to side, but
Okay.
opening was up and down was a little harder for me.
Yes. Yes. Did anyone else, Jayashri, you experienced that as well? Yes. Yes. So usually people have one that's easier and one that's not. And it just depends on the habits that we have developed of how we hold the body. Not what the baby learns about how to hold the body, what we have learned to take on through lifetimes. So this vocal instrument, here, let me ask you one other thing. I want you to pay attention just right now to the back of your tongue and see if you can sense if there is tension there. Soften your eyes. For some reason, the softening of the eyes helps the back of the tongue to also soften. And now pay attention to the jaw and see if you can sense the tension that is there. So throughout our lifetimes, we've gotten a whole bunch of messages Don't speak up. I can't believe you said that. You talk too loud. I disagree. Being laughed at is the worst. So there's been a lot of pressure on us. And throughout time, what we learn to do is minimize and minimize and minimize and minimize this thing that gives voice through frequency vibration, that speaks the things that we care about. One of the things here, do this with me. First, I'm going to have you just expand, use your hands to expand your face and your hands like this. Go ahead, do it. And now contract. And now expand. Yes, yes, good. Good jaw movement. Nice wide open mouths, because we don't open our mouths so much anymore. So the mouth is like a megaphone, and it shapes sound. And what we have learned how to do is to talk like this. Hi. Instead of hi. So just opening the mouth allows your voice, your resonator, the carrier of your message, to come forward. Pretty cool, right? All right, a little more tapping, if you would. Tap here on the collarbone. And go a little bit lower. In holistic circles, we call this tapping the thymus. The thymus gland is here. And the thymus gland boosts the immune system. Now, while we're tapping on this, in acting, in the Michael Chekhov technique, this is called the ideal artistic center. And Chekhov actors are encouraged to tap this area of the body before they perform. So again, you can take this into your routine before you do a presentation. Backstage, when you're warming up, you can open your mouth. You can tap all of this. It enlivens it. It's a warm-up, right? Brings energy flow and blood flow. All right, good. Got a question for you. How many of you get nervous before you speak? It's pretty common, right? Yeah, big time. Big time. All right, good. So now let me give you a technique that helps with that. On one of your hands, follow this line down between your little finger and your ring finger. You feel that little indentation right there in your hand? Now, let me have you tap on that. This relates to the spleen in the body. In traditional Chinese medicine, the spleen is a calmer. And this point, the fleshy part of the third finger, is also relates to the spleen. So now I'm going to have you put your hand over your thymus and tap on that spleen point and make sure you get that middle finger tip also tapping. Now you can do this at any time. In bad traffic, you see a car do something weird, your heart rate goes up, help yourself to this. Getting ready to go on stage, help yourself to this. And it was also explained to me that there's a relationship when we're stressed, our immune system response goes down. So in tapping the thymus and the spleen, we we build up that calming from the spleen, which also helps the immune system. So it's layers and layers and layers upon good for you. Yes, either hand. Yes, either hand, Jayashri. And sometimes I'll change hands. Excellent. Good. All right, good. Now I'm going to have you tap a little bit lower to what some people refer to as the heart center. Again, why? We're learning to have the heart come forward as our connector of all that we are in body, heart, mind, and spirit. And a little bit lower. As you can see, I'm pretty far down here. Little bit lower. One of my Qigong teachers refers to this as the heart gate. It's a vast teaching, but it's one of 4 gates that he teaches about. Okay, good. Time for feedback. Now, how do you feel just from tapping all the parts of the body that we've been tapping on? That's the other thing about acting. We learn how to look in, right? It's all experiential, but then we have to look in and go, oh, what does that feel like? And then we have to articulate it. Wow, that's a lot to learn about. So articulate, please. What do you notice? What do you feel? Yes, Richard.
Well, it makes you pay attention to the various parts of your body where the communication comes from. And as you say, you can collect a lot of stress and tension in those places. So it makes you focus and become aware of that, I think.
Yes, absolutely, Richard. Absolutely. Well said. Yes, good job. What else? Any other? You feel better having tapped? You feel better?
Yeah, tension is actually lower now. Like tension in the jaw region.
Yeah, it's lower.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, good. And if you want, Simon, while we're talking, go ahead and tap on the tension that you're feeling now.
Yeah, last week, a friend of mine who's a massage therapist grabbed me here for several seconds, and it was not comfortable for me while she was doing it at all.
I
But
get
that's how I
that.
tension. Yeah.
It is amazingly, because Richard, you talked about just the tension that we accumulate in a day, but really what we're talking about is the tension we accumulate in a lifetime. And there's a lot of it. When I first started to do this work, I was a young actress in my 20s. And my first professional job, I hope you enjoyed this, I was a singing wench. Yes, my parents were very pleased. They spent all that money for my college degree. And I was not using my voice correctly, and I got what's called nodes, constant laryngitis, blah, blah, blah. This is not the state a performer wants to be in. And so I was in vocal therapy, and they were big old nodes. So I was in vocal therapy, and what I realized is that I had a confluence of not using this instrument correctly, and I had not given myself permission to speak my truth yet. I was a young woman in my 20s. And this was a while ago when speaking your truth was even less fashionable than it is right now. So, and I did therapy at the time too, so that I could explore what that was to be able to have a voice. And there was a wonderful, wonderful healing convergence. But I want to tell you, my jaw was frozen. I could not move it. My larynx was frozen. That's life. It was trauma. And it settled in my body, right in here, especially here, because don't you be talking about that. So in essence, what we're doing is giving ourselves permission to speak about what we want to speak about and to speak our truth and our experiences. It's incredibly liberating. And isn't that also part of moving from being separate into being whole? Good job, everybody. Good job. What good students you are. I'm impressed. Thank you. All right, you ready to take some next steps? Woohoo, here we go. All right, there's 3 centers in the body that place sound. We're just going to do a very brief overview of these. Overview is a key word. If you were an acting student, you would be in a conservatory for 2 years, spending in-depth periods of time working on each of these things. So one of the voices is what we call the head voice. Sopranos, we know about the head voice from the clarity and the lightness of sound in a soprano, from the high voice in a tenor, and from the sounds of children's voices. And the sound that we are taught to access, it is key, K-E-Y, like a key. Before I go any farther, there is a little bit of a cosmic joke. I have been dealing with some allergy issues that are affecting the quality of my voice. So this next section may be a little more of a do as I do, not as I sound. But I'm going for it anyway. The vocal issues are not from vocal misuse. There's some other issues that are going on that are affecting my vocal cords, of course, on the day that we're teaching a class about sound. Little cosmic joke there. All right. So I want you to think baby voice. It's nice and light. You can even tap up here a little bit. And it sounds something like this. And again, I'm not looking for a perfect quality of sound. It's about exploring space and placement. That's what I want you to focus on, not what you're sounding like. And in fact, go ahead and mute yourself. Not what you're sounding like, but if you can feel it up here. And it's going to go something like this. And again, as you make the sound, keep the jaw soft, float the tongue. It does not come from here. Right, we're learning how to bypass this tension here in the larynx. Let it float upward. Good. Good. Anyone want to give me feedback on that? Easy? Hard?
Very different from what I'm used to doing. I usually pull from much lower to like try to project farther.
Right, exactly. And that's the
Not
third.
intuitive.
And you're a guy too. So your voice, all of our voices lower. So this can be really challenging for men. And we're going to get to this voice in just a minute. Ultimately, there's 3 placements, and ultimately we want a blend of all of those placements. So this will be a fun thing for you to add to your routine, Simon, is finding that little baby voice and allowing that to come into the whole mix of your sound.
Right now, it's just sounding like Michael Jackson.
Very funny. I love it. Yes, and that's right. That's what it sounds like. It's not necessarily a pretty sound.
No.
But it also carries. You ever been, in a house with kids and they start hollering? that sound just comes right on through. So even in terms of it being a carrier of your sound, it's a good quality to add to the mix. Good, thank you. Good awareness. All right, good. Let's go to what we call the mid voice. Jayashri, did you want to add something? Okay. All right. For the mid voice, go ahead and put your hands on the cheeks and the sinus area. And actually relax your hands for a moment. And I'd like you to say the word mom. Mom. Really paying attention to the M sound. So that's a resonator. Now you can put your hands back here. Mom. Mom. Good. You want the resonance up here. You want the balance of the middle voice. It also tends to bring the voice forward. So again, it's not caught here. Good. And the last voice is the chest voice. Simon, this is what you were talking about. So everybody put a hand here on your chest. And the sound, let me make it first, is going to sound something like this. Ha! It's like Army Sergeant. Ha! Ha! It's going to come from a contraction in the diaphragm. Ha! 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 And so everybody make that sound at home, please. Drop your jaw. Ha! Ha! Notice the impulse is to do this. Ha! Ha! Where we only let our mouths open just a teeny weeny little bit. Heaven forbid we let our sound out in the world. Yes, Jayashri. You're muted.
I didn't have any question. I just was trying to like scratch my elbow. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Everybody feel free to scratch if you'd like. All right, good. Simon, how about that? Did that feel familiar, the chest voice? Ha, ha. Yes, good. For how many of you did the chest voice feel familiar? And then I will ask for how many of you it didn't. So how ha, ha. Did that feel familiar? Richard, did that feel familiar to you?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yes, yes, good. And for the women here, did that feel familiar or right? So Jayashri and Lauren are like, nah, not so much, right? And part of that is just the difference in vocal structure. Part of it is cultural. Here's the trick. And what this is reminding me, we'll do this vocal exercise as well. It's called optimum pitch. And so the thing is you don't want to talk too low. It's very hard on the vocal cords. Now remember, actors train themselves from the perspective of what do I need to do to my voice to be able to do 8 performances a week, which is what you do on Broadway, right? So we have to take care of this entire instrument so that we can function. Like athletes need to take care of their bodies so that they can function when it comes time to playing their sport, right? Same thing. So without the chest voice, so for example, this is how I'm talking right now in range. I have really cut out my chest voice. And this might be a decision that I make if I'm doing voiceover or a character. I sound a little younger, right? So it really, really sort of took me up here. But it also takes my authority away. And so for a lot of women, we get a lot of messages about not having authority. So this is a reclamation that we have things to say, that we're the authority on what we're the authority on. So here's another thing to practice then. For the women, which is most of us, you get to practice this chest voice. Ha, ha. Now you want the blend. Let me make sure everybody's muted again. Okay, good. In your chest voice, I would like you to say, hello. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Add, how are you? 1, 2, 3. How are you? Just focusing here on the chest voice. Good. So it's all of this is muscles. We're going into the muscles and they're long forgotten and we're bringing them forward. We want to have the chest voice in relationship to these other voices. Now focus on the mom. Mom, mom, hello, hello. And go ahead and feel what that feels like to come from here. This center tends to bring in a little bit of this and a little bit of that, as well as bring the sound forward, which is what we want. Our sound gets caught, it gets caught here in a tight larynx, right? And so we're trying to open this up, free the breath for the breath to make sound. All right, so now somebody give me feedback. You've just experienced the 3 placements of your voice. What'd you think? How do you feel now from warming those up? What'd you learn? Yes, Jayashri.
So I had never paid attention to my voice before, like consciously. And so whenever I had a call on a phone with anyone, I would always they assumed that I was much younger than I am. And that would take me by surprise because how was that possible? I was talking normally. So I don't know, like I could have, if I had paid attention, I might have made my voice sound more mature or what. I don't know if I can consciously do that. Probably you can. So that was something I learned that, yeah, from these voice.
Yes, yes, wonderful, Jayashri. Thank you so much. Good observation, well articulated. And so here's what I would suggest, and this builds on what Lauren was saying earlier too. What we don't want to do is falsely push the pitch down. We don't want to take on a deeper voice like this, but we do want to give yourself some time to explore. Ha, 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 ha. Hello, hello. And allow this chest voice to become incorporated. That's technically, I just translated what you said, Jayashri, into technically the full voice. So we want to incorporate this. Make sense?
Yes, and I like, can you do that? Like when growing up, we never got all these training, so I thought this was my normal voice. I
Oh, that's right. Well, again, we're not taught voice. In any school that I'm aware of, we're not taught vocal production unless you're a singer or an actor. Right? So this is why I wanted to teach this course. This is good stuff, not taught to most of us.
But how some women do develop that authoritative voice over time as they age, that authoritativeness in their voice comes naturally. Why not to some other women? Like mine, many I get mad when say, "Oh, I thought you were in your teens or younger." That's like it would make me really mad.
Well, right, because we want your experience to be reflected in your voice. So this is a doorway for you. So we've established that you get to explore this lower chest voice part of you and now begin to give it voice and incorporate it into the whole of you. It's going to be a wonderful learning experience, Jayashri. I can't wait. And you can reach out to me at any time and tell me what you're learning. It will develop. It's just like going to the gym and developing a muscle. You're developing a muscle, and the more you develop it, it will be able to be used for you. And the thing about being older women, it's powerful to be an older woman. And again, we didn't learn that in the world of separation. So we want the depth of your wisdom and experience to come through. This is one of the ways to do it. Really awesome. Thank you. And Lauren, you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just have a comment. What's interesting when we're speaking from the chest voice, I don't know if the men feel this way too, but I automatically feel like a sense of empowerment and confidence that's kind of like unlocked when I start to kind of speak from that voice. It's more of a feeling that kind of helps guide me to speak more confidently. So it's great that you're isolating those different voices and registers so that you can kind of tap into a different register that feels a little foreign and uncomfortable, but I think it's interesting to kind of use this exercise as a way to build confidence in your speaking. It's great.
I love it. And you just spoke it, and I've got to plug my computer in. Sorry, I forgot. Hold on a second. Yes, Lauren, what you just said is the name of the game. That is absolutely it. Empowerment, freedom. Some of these techniques come from a book called Freeing the Natural Voice. It's what Jayashri was saying, having all of us present. I love it, Lauren. Really, if I could take what you just said and put it in a quote, and that's what this work is all about. I love it. Yes.
Well, I'm interested if the men feel the same way. Richard and Simon, do y'all feel like that when you're speaking from the chest voice too?
Oh yeah, that's why I do it. So I started when I'm in the Marine Corps. Y'all know me. Like I'm short. I'm not physically intimidating. So I conditioned myself for that voice specifically for that reason because I did have leadership like positions. And I have a similar thing happen to me that happens with Jayashri. I've had jobs where I interact with like 95% of people on the phone. And then one day, somebody that I'd never actually met came to the office to see me. I heard he was there, so I went out front and I said hello, like whatever his name was, John, whatever. Dude looked past me, trying to look for like the 6 foot tall dude that must be Simon based on my voice. look straight over me.
Wow. Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you have this, and it does not feel to me like it's getting stuck so much in the larynx, and that's good. That's very good. So,
I do have a question about the mid voice.
Yes.
How nasal should that be?
Okay, that's a good question. Can I ask you to make the sound so I can hear it?
Yeah.
Mom.
Mom.
Yes, okay.
Mom.
Drop the jaw. So one of the things that's happening is the mouth is going sideways. Ma'am.
Okay.
Mom.
Mom.
That's it. You got it.
Okay, that's not too low?
No.
Okay.
No. What I heard was that this balanced with this.
Okay.
It was not necessarily isolated. Mom, here, I want you to, if you would, say this, please. Imagine, do you have kids, Simon?
I have dogs.
Okay. So imagine that you do, and that it's time to go to bed, and that you're very gently saying, okay, kids, time to go to bed. Can you say that?
Not with a straight face.
How about one of your dogs?
I can. It might cause a little bit of chaos.
Well, Well,
Just
just
time to go
pretend.
to bed.
Just pretend.
Just say time to go to bed.
Yep.
All right. Time to go to bed.
Yes. Now, I don't know if you could hear it, but not that you were trying to and not that I want you to, but the pitch went up just a little bit. And that's this part, right? And again, for everyone, remember, we tighten our jaws and we don't use our mouth very much, but that aw sound, mom, that's the quality that you're looking for. Good, awesome, good job. And Alex, I know you, yes, I want to hear about that, learning to make your voice more authoritative. Hold on a second, let me get Richard and I'll get right to you. Richard.
Oh, well, yeah, my wife points this out to me a lot with the animals, that you have to sound very authoritative, especially with the dog. But even cats, my slow, relaxed way doesn't work as well as the sort of chest, authoritative way. So I've been learning that about training the animals, but I did have a question too, because I speak unusually slowly. You haven't addressed tempo at all. Is that a factor? Speed or tempo of communication?
Well, it is. It is. Rhythm, tempo, placement, and some of that is habitual. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all have different rhythms. That's what makes the world go. All of this, by the way, none of this is wrong. All of this is just our template, our starting template. What I would suggest to you, Richard, is this, is that tempo can be your friend when you are presenting, and to make conscious decisions about when you want the rhythm to be slower and when you want to pick it up a little bit, because that's going to make the ear. And this is what I'm hoping we're going to get to in part 2 of all of this, is how to break up a presentation so that it's very unique and alive instead of one note all the way through. So you know that you're coming into this with a natural, slower rhythm. There's nothing wrong with that. If you stick with it in an entire presentation, it may not be your best friend. For any of us.
I usually try and speed it up a little, maybe even with some caffeine.
Even with a little, yes. So what you may want to do, if you're getting ready to do a presentation, do either the whole speech or just a portion of it in rehearsal, your pace. And then the next time, do it very, very fast. Actors do what we call speed throughs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Speed throughs, right? It takes you out. In fact, if you will do that on a piece that's memorized, that you know very well and have for years, you're likely to fall over the words, because the memory in your brain is encoded with the pace of it. So all of this, anything that we can do to bust ourselves out of our normal patterns, our normal rhythms, is good. It gives us freedom, and that is the name of the game, as Lauren was just saying. Right? So it now becomes a conscious tool for you, Richard.
Thank you.
And also use that jaw, my friend. Let the sound come. Full mouth, forward and out. Cool. Awesome. Let me look at what Alex said. Alex, do you want to, oh, this is good stuff. Can you unmute and share
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for me, it was kind of a similar thing for Simon. You know, when I was on the force, I was one of the youngest members on top of being a woman on top of like night shift, where kind of everything that goes down goes down. So kind of had to quickly learn how to use more of my chest voice. And I think I do that more in my normal day-to-day life as well at this point, because there's a lot of difference between, hi, my name is Alex. I'm with the Plano Police Department. Turn around, put your hands behind your back, to, hi, my name's Alex Hollins. Turn around, put your hands behind your back, that kind of thing. So definitely had
Yes.
to figure out which identity uses which voice.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. That is the name of the game. And the chest voice holds authority. So if I'm an actress playing a cop or an army sergeant, I'm really going to pay attention to that. Yes, good. There's another acting technique. Before we tapped here on the thymus, go ahead and do it while we're talking. And in this ideal artistic center, Michael Chekhov, the creator of this technique, says this is the home of our thinking place, our feeling place, and our will. So the will is the authority, the will is the action taker, the will is all the activism part of us, right? Now here's the trick, just so that I'm thorough. Again, this is not about pushing pitch down. So a lot of the women in the 70s, when we were paying attention to empowering ourselves, we did that by lowering our pitches. Hello. And lowering the pitch falsely is very hard on the vocal cords. And that is one of the reasons that I developed some of the vocal issues that I had in my early 20s. So I had to find my optimum pitch. Let's talk about that. It wasn't on the agenda, but it just came up. Let's talk about that. So there's something called the bubble and hum. Remember when you were a kid taking a bath and you learned how to make motorboat sounds, putting your mouth into the water? See if you can do that.
I know for a fact that I cannot. This was a conversation with my ex-wife who had very loose lips, and I cannot do that. I can make explosion noises, but I can't do the motor thing.
That is so funny, Simon. I love it. And there's usually about one person in every class that I teach that physically is unable to make a motorboat sound. You win. But you can still put your focus right up here in the center of your lips. And again, that gets the voice forward. When the voice is forward, it's going to get you into optimum pitch. Okay, so everybody muted. I just want you to say and hear yourself say, hello, my name is. Go ahead. Yes, good. And now, for those of you who can bubble, Simon, just focus here. And now say, hello, my name is. And notice if there was a shift in pitch. If there was, I know it's a little itchy, right, Lauren? It tickles. Yeah. So, Jayashri, did you notice there was a change in pitch? Tell me about the change. Unmute, yeah.
Yeah, like, like right now I was having difficulty doing that motorboat sound, but when I was younger, I could do it. So it seems my lips are frozen or something.
There might be a lot of tension here. And so I will have you add that to the list of things that you can play with just throughout a day.
Is the pitch changing because of your position of the tongue is taking up more of the cavity of the mouth? Is that what's going on? Because I feel like my tongue is going forward when I try to do that.
It does feel a little bit like that. I had not noticed that before. I will tell you the teachers that I had would always say what it does is bring the sound forward. So yes, I'll bet you that there's other changes in the mouth and the cavity of the mouth to allow that to happen. Good. So here's another thing that you can do when you're warming up vocally. You've done all your tapping. You've paid attention to your jaw, up and down, side to side, a little bit on the larynx, all of this. And then do some very gentle sighing. Ooh. Again, it's not about quality of sound. It's about a relaxed sound coming through a relaxed instrument. Ooh. So again, I'm going to have you practice that in your own little room. Ooh. This is your vocal warm-up. What I notice in the sighing is it really sort of takes me through all of these registers in the voice. And that's what we want. So Jayashri, you're going to be paying particular attention to the chest voice. Lauren, I believe you said so too. Simon, you're going to be paying attention to this forward center portion of the mouth. Richard, you're going to be paying attention to the awe in mom. So good. So all of this is about exercising and bringing freedom to the voice. Good job, everybody. Good job. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. There's one more thing that I want to connect now, and that is the voice as a connector to the people that you're speaking with. So again, everybody on mute. I just want you to say, hello, my name is. Good. And feel what that feels like. Listen to what that feels like. Good. Now, looking at the screen, and there's 5 of us visible, choose somebody on the screen and now say, hello, my name is, to one other person on the screen. And let me watch you do that, please. Go ahead. Yes. Good. Good. Now, was there a difference? The first one you just said it. Hi, my name is Beth. The second when you said it to someone else, was there a difference? Did somebody raise your hand and unmute? Or maybe you didn't notice a difference. All right.
I'll say, so when I said the second time consciously addressing someone, my voice went a bit deeper, like.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's activating the will center, Jayashri. It's the will to connect with someone. That's this lower voice. I had never connected that dot before. That is awesome. Jayashri, can I ask you, if you would, first just say, hello, my name is?
Unmute myself and
No,
say,
yeah, stay unmuted if you would, please. Just take a breath and say it. Oh, I'm sorry, unmute. Stay unmuted if you would, if you don't mind. There you go.
hello, my name is Jayashri.
Yes, good. And now pick somebody, anybody, and say it to them. Let us know who you're talking to.
Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Jayashri. Slight difference.
Slight difference. Now, what I want us to start paying attention to is sending voice. Sending voice. So let me give you an example. And then Lauren, I might have you say hi to Jayashri back. So let me give you an example. So here I am talking, blah, blah, blah. It's just me, right? Can you see that? Can you see in my energy sphere? It's just me, blah, 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 blah. But now I'm gonna say hello to Richard. Hi, Richard, how are you? Do you see that it changes? I'm no longer in my bubble. And this is key. This is the highway we want to travel as speakers and presenters, right? In normal life, we can stay in our little bubble. The power that we have as speakers and presenters is sending the voice as a connector to who we're speaking with. And this concept of sending the voice is also another thing that asks, it's a muscle. It asks a little bit of exercise. Jayashri, you said it earlier, it's about a consciousness. It's about a conscious decision. Hello. Let me show you what I have my actors do in an acting class. Hello. Hello. Everybody mute. I'm going to have you do the same thing. You can stay seated. So just first, hello. And now with your hand, hello. Yes. Do you feel how the rest of the body gets engaged in it now? Use the hand. Now we've got 33 1/3% of the brain with the voice, 33 1/3% of the brain with the hand, 33 1/3% with the body. Hello. Notice how you lean into it. Everybody do that, please. 1, 2, 3. Yes, 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 yes. This action is what makes us activists. This is what makes our presentation active. It is the willingness to connect. In the Michael Chekhov technique, he uses something that he calls archetypal gesture. So let's look at that in 2 ways. Lauren, can I have you unmute? And
Sure.
Let me have you say hello back to Jayashri, since she so generously did to you.
Hi, Jayashri. Nice to see you.
Yes. Now, could y'all see that? Could you see the and you could feel it, right, Jayashri? That's what we want to do when we're speaking. Authentic, genuine connection. Yes, good. Now I'm going to have you add this. I want you to imagine that you're actually shaking hands with her as you say it. If you would, please, Lauren.
Hi, Jayashri. Nice to see you.
Yes, good. Yes. Was that the same, slightly different? Had different sensations in it?
Yeah, just imagining shaking someone's hand kind of puts your body into it a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And this is what we do when we speak. Our voice is a handshake. Right, so I'm getting ready to be coaching some big time speakers that are used to being behind a podium or their desk and they're a professor, right? And they forget it's a handshake. And if you get nervous, the visual of shaking hands with your voice minimizes that. Remember, how do you handle nerves? You have another focus. Because if all you focus on is your nerves, you're going to get more nerves. Right? So you give yourself these visuals. Good. Very good. So now everybody pick someone on the screen. Stay muted. Say hello to them and imagine that you're shaking hands. 1, 2, 3, go. Yes, 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 yes. Now look, y'all are all muted. I'm just watching, but what I see is actively engaged people. Yes, that's what we want. Active engagement. Good job. One more thing. Michael Chekhov in his archetypal gestures teaches us about reach. So imagine shaking hands. Just put your hand out like you're shaking hands. Right? Okay, good. That's a version of reach, isn't it? We're reaching out. So now think reach, 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 reach. Anchor your little feet in wherever you're anchored in, and now reach. Stretch out that arm, stretch out that arm, and now say, hello, my name is. Good. So in acting classes, what we do is take the gesture and we really do it big. We really, really overdo it so it gets in the muscle memory. Now, I want you to relax the gesture, but feel it. Same thing. Hello, my name is. You're going to be reaching without the physical gesture. 1, 2, 3, go. Yes, good. Notice also that in the reach, it's going to ease up some of the tension that we hold in the body, so you don't have to be in a container. Your container can move. It can float. It can sway like trees in the breeze. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Oh, it's so good to see you. Hello. Right? Because everything in us might be want to go, hello. We'll start the presentation now. Right? So it opens you. Reach. All right. Unmute if you would, please, everybody. Let's wrap up. How do you feel? Isn't it enlivening?
This was great, Beth. Very helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So let me ask you a couple of feedback questions. Name me something new that you learned that you think will be of value to you that you'll be able to practice. And just raise your hand and speak up. Yes.
Don't remember what you called it, but this thing?
Yes.
That's Andy.
Isn't it? Boy. And you can imagine you're at a meeting and you're not really very happy, right? Your hand can be under the table doing this. No one will know. Yes. Good. Awesome. What else? Who else? What'd you learn that you think you can use? I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff you learned you think you can lose. Yes, Richard.
Well, the touching, I meditate a fair amount, so we intellectually focus on a part of the body or part of the voice, but to actually touch it, I think that can be very useful, touching the different parts of the head and the upper chest to become aware of the stress level and what's going on there.
Wonderful. Yes. Excellent. Good. And the tapping actually lands on acupuncture points. And there's a whole body that's literally called tapping or an EFT, emotional freedom technique, so that you are informing all of these meridians inside the body and helping them relax. Yes. And this vagus nerve. Oh boy. Good friend it is. Yes. Thank you, Richard. Yes. Good. What else? Who else? Yes, Jayashri.
Sorry. 1 second. I don't know. So one thing I noticed, like this touching the earlobe, when we were kids in India in school, if we were mischievous, our teachers would make us cross our hand and punish us, like stand there and touch your ears like this. This was a punishment for us. And press this. We just did it because we were told. But now I learned that it has an effect. You calm down or God knows what, but it would, like, that would be a punishment, but that's something I learned. And secondly, something that I did automatically without knowing is, like, from a university, like professor, like teacher, researcher job to a classroom teacher, the shift was very different because I had not taught in school before. So while I was being trained as a teacher, all the trainers would be worried about my voice. Will I have a teacher's voice? And so after all this training, this is the way you do this. First day I went into class as a practice, I automatically got, like, spoke in a voice that was throwing my voice, like, and later I say, oh, you got the teacher's voice. I don't know how I did that, but it happened.
I love it. From an acting perspective, Jayashri, that is intention. The intention is to connect with those kids. The intention is to connect with those students, and the body and the voice follows, which is another thing about being a speaker. And again, if we do a part 2, this may well be what we include, is what is your intention in this meeting? And there's lots of ways to look at that. But see, that's the power of it, Jayashri. Yes, absolutely. You knew why you were there. You knew what your heart's desire was, and everything in you aligned with that. Wonderful. Good. Well, Alex, how was this being in your car doing this class?
It was good. Thank you for letting me, join remotely. I got to my destination, so I've kind of been hanging out waiting. But thank you so much. This was really great.
Yes, good. Oh, I'm so glad you joined. Tell me, we'll wrap up now. Tell me, all right, so you've just told me some of the stuff that you've learned. What do you think that your next step is, or what would you like to focus on next about expanding your skills as a speaker? What do you think?
For me, I think it's because I give a lot of presentations at work. I think it's about really tapping into this chest register and slowing down. I think tempo is important too. And then, in Zoom presentations versus an in-person one, it is really important to kind of focus in on someone. So that was a good learning for me, a good reminder, I should say, to kind of like look at one person and pretend as if you're in the same room as them. I think that really helps bring a sense of closeness in your presentation.
Yes, awesome. Awesome. It really does. It personalizes it. It brings the connection. Again, well said. In acting, we call it focal point.
Yeah.
Right? If you're being recorded, generally, not always, it depends on where your camera is, but generally, like I am looking directly at the camera lens right now. So generally, you look several inches over from camera lens to camera lens, but even if it's recorded, you imagine who you're talking to. Why? Because we're building community. It's not just you talking because you're smart, right? But because you're taking that smart and reaching out and sharing and touching. So yes, Lauren, yes, really connecting with someone specific. If you're in a room, depending on the lighting, you may or may not be able to see faces. So you just put your eyes on the back wall and it becomes a hug. In that way, your focal point holds the whole room. And that's what you want. So what I would like to do for our next session, and I'll think about this and write it up, and if you have thoughts, please let me know too. I would like to talk a little bit about presentation itself And, maybe if people could come with 3 to 5 lines of something. And if they don't have 3 to 5 lines, that's okay too. But talk about how to shape. Thank you. Oh, wonderful, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. So more to come on what that means. But now that we've got our instrument enlivened, now we get to enliven the piece and the content. What do you think? Is that something you think would be valuable for you?
I'd like to second the call for tempo. I have too many experiences doing like the exact opposite of what Richard was concerned of, which is that I sometimes talk too fast. My last live presentation in undergrad was right before the pandemic. It was very early. It was for me, it was very early. It was 8 a.m. That might as well be midnight. So I woke up and I had 3 cups of coffee before I even got to the classroom. And I shot out a 15-minute presentation in about 5 minutes. And everybody was blinking at me because I had gone so fast. So I had to just completely start over.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? And the other thing is that you have the element of nerves that come in. Speaking is a heightened experience. You are not going to feel when you perform and when you speak the same way that you do when you go into Tom Thumb to buy milk. It is a heightened experience. So you're going to have that adrenaline and that movement and energy in the body. And sometimes what happens, Simon, is that it becomes like a runaway train. So again, we want to practice making sure that we breathe. You have to get it into the muscle memory. It's hard. It's impossible to try a new skill while you're actually doing the presentation, but it can be part of your rehearsal process. So we can pay attention to that too. All right. Cool. Well, I've had a great time. Thank you all so much for being here. Really awesome. And you went for it. And it was fun, right? And you're all in one piece. We can make sound and be okay. We can have a message and be safe and live our purpose in life. And we're okay. Awesome. Awesome. Anything else you want to say in closing?
Beth, I really appreciate you doing this class. And I appreciate everybody showing up here on a Saturday morning for this. This has been really, really useful.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. And I agree, Simon. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that our 8 new people didn't show up. Boy, they don't know what they were missing. But we did. And we're happy to share this with other people as well. And yes, Maureen, I got your message. So yes, I'll stay on. We can figure out tomorrow. And for everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you. As things pop into your head, email me. You may have a dream or an aha moment or a visceral experience with something. Let me know about it. That is the good, juicy stuff. All right. Richard, good luck with your kittens.
Thank you.
Lauren, I didn't know you did all those presentations. Wonderful. I trust that this was a support for you in the work that you're doing. Jayashri, thank you. Simon, thank you. Mwah.
Thank you, Beth. This was great.
My pleasure, truly.